Hello and welcome back to Vizura Recaps. The film begins in 2079 in Washington, D.C., with a CIA officer, Snow, being interrogated by Secret Service Director Scott Langrel. Colonel Frank was in a room the night before, and the director wants to know what happened. However, Snow continues to respond in a funny manner, resulting in multiple strikes from an officer. After taking multiple punches, Snow finally reveals the events of the previous evening. As he narrates, we are transported to a flashback. Snow is now fighting with an unknown adversary. Their violent battle continues until Snow takes a revolver and kills the attacker. Moments later, he receives a distress call from his friend, Mace, who notifies him that he has been duped and advises him to leave the area immediately. Snow still finds some time to speak with the dying colonel, who begs him to guard a briefcase and a lighter. After the colonel dies, Snow snatches the briefcase and walks out. Soon later, he is ambushed by armed police officers, who begin firing at him. Snow climbs to the roof in a frantic attempt to escape, but is apprehended by a fighter helicopter. With no other option, he jumps off the building, hitting another building's window and landing on the ground. Despite his slight injuries, he proceeds to flee the pursuing police squad. Shortly after, he finds across a motorcycle and snatches it. He speeds down the highway while simultaneously calling Mace to meet him at the metro station. Snow ultimately makes it to the subway, where he begins rushing for a specific platform. When he sees that the train is about to leave, he throws the briefcase inside before the door closes. This permits his pal to transport it safely. Seconds later, police officers apprehend Snow and take him to the station. Back in the present, after finishing his story, Scott accuses him of murdering the colonel. When he denies, Scott gives him camera footage of Snow shooting the colonel from the back. Our hero swears that the tape is bogus, but Scott does not trust him. A little time later, Snow's buddy and fellow agent, Harry Shaw, enters and substitutes Scott to conduct the additional interrogation. Snow appears to trust him, so he informs him privately about his acquaintance, Mace, who possesses the suitcase holding the stolen knowledge. Meanwhile, Mace exits the train and conceals the briefcase in one of the station lockers. During this, he forgets the key card, which is quickly discovered by a cop. As the police calls him out to return it, Mace becomes worried and begins to walk away hastily. In the process, he accidentally bumps with a bystander, forcing him to drop his gun, which goes off on the floor and injures the officer. This unintentional ruckus immediately notifies the other officers, who apprehend Mace as well. The following scene introduces us to the president's daughter, Emilie Warnock, who is in a spaceship going through orbit with her bodyguard, Hawk, and her aide, Catherine. Currently, she is seen speaking with Barnes, the jail warden, who provides a basic overview of their task. It turns out that the group is on their way to MS-1, a maximum security space jail with 500 detainees. Barnes claims that MS-1 is the only prison that does not experience abuse or uprisings since the prisoners are put to sleep. However, Emilie is concerned because multiple studies have found that keeping inmates in stasis can lead to mental instability. Upon arrival, they go through the regular routine before riding the elevator to the hibernation chamber. During this time, Emilie questions Barnes about the actual aim of this jail, which is to explore the consequences of deep space exploration on humanity. However, the latter says that he is only an employee and knows nothing about it. They then discover a vast compartment where the inmates are sleeping in their hibernation capsules. The warden appears to have prepared an interrogation room, but they cannot bring any weapons inside. Despite the warning, Hawk conceals a tiny handgun under his jeans in case things go wrong. Emilie is eventually granted permission to interview a psychotic prisoner named Heidel. Sitting on the opposite side of the glass room, she tries to interrogate him about his mental soundness, but he doesn't take it seriously. This irritates Hawk, who presses his head against the table and orders him to answer the question correctly. Heidel seizes this opportunity to steal the handgun from the bodyguard's pants and fires in random directions. This triggers an explosion, knocking out all the guards in the room. Following this, Heidel fires his chains and escapes from captivity. Emilie freaks out and attempts to flee, but she's tragically shot in the leg. Following this, Heidel enters the control room and threatens a scientist with unlocking all of the capsules. Scared for his life, the scientist obeys his order, but he is killed in the end. In the aftermath, the convicts emerge from their capsules and begin attacking the guards, resulting in a riot. One of the captives is Heidel's elder brother, Alex, who leads the group. They eventually spread throughout the institution, seizing everyone as hostages. Back in the interview room, Hawk regains consciousness and quickly sends a warning signal to Scott before being led away. The continued noise informs LOPD, Low Orbit Police Department, who subsequently check the prison ship. Alex, aware of the police's approach, forces another scientist to activate the security system. Heidel then presses a large button, causing the jail ship to fire on the police vessel. On Earth, Harry and Scott inform President Jeff Warnock about the situation in the MS-1. Scott then offers deploying a special force to deal with the situation, but Harry claims that doing so will endanger the captives' lives. He proposes an alternative strategy, sending one man with a specific order to rescue the president's daughter. The selected one is none other than Snow. Our hero initially refuses to go because the assignment is extremely perilous. But he changes his mind when he discovers Mace is also on MS-1. In the following scene, Snow, Harry, and Scott board a space shuttle and go for their mission. On their way, Snow learns about an escape pod on level 5 that will transport them out of the prison ship. He's also handed over some explosives and a map. After several hours, the trio arrives at the LOPD. And Cop informs them that Alex has requested a negotiator. After hearing this, Scott comes up with an idea. Because the detainees are unaware that Emilie is the president's daughter, he assigns one of the LOPD officers as a mediator to mislead them into releasing her. As directed, the officer enters the prison ship and negotiates the release of at least one hostage first. When the bad men agree, the officer suggests that the prisoner be a wounded woman, which leads Alex to choose Emilie. However, Heidel refuses to let her leave, most likely because he requires more from her. The crazed individual then shoots Catherine and orders the cop to take her instead. However, the gunshot appears to have struck directly into her chest, resulting in her rapid death. In the midst of this, Snow leaves the LOPD and lands on the prisoner ship, only to be discovered by one of the inmates. He then passes the information to Alex, stating that it was all a setup. Enraged by the deception, Alex kills the negotiator and instructs his soldiers to execute the invader. Shortly later, he notices Emilie's ID card and discovers from her surname that she's the president's daughter. Meanwhile, Emilie and Hawk are in the elevator, heading back to the hostage room. Seeing this as an opportunity to flee, Emilie grabs a fire extinguisher and sprays it on the prisoner, while Hawk attacks him. At the same time, the elevator opens, revealing Snow. Recognizing him as an intruder, the prisoner begins attacking him, while Emilie and her bodyguard flee the scene. Despite his efforts, Snow successfully blows off the prisoner's head with the explosive. Meanwhile, Emilie and Hawk are hiding in a secure room, waiting for the rescue crew to come. However, there is a problem: oxygen availability is limited. Not long after, Alex and his crew find them in the secure room. The crime lord instructs one of his men to bring him an engineer to open the door. An elderly engineer is brought in, but he is so terrified that he fails to unlock the door. As a result, Alex brutally shoots him before summoning another engineer. Meanwhile, Harry leads Snow to Emilie's room via secret corridors. On the way, he encounters a torsion system that generates gravity. But before he can climb into it, one of the captives notices him and attacks. The two then battle while floating through the air. Heidel, who is in the control room, notices this and shoots the computer system, which disables the torsion system. With gravity removed, the prisoner falls, but Snow manages to hang onto a rope. When Harry learns of this, he reactivates the torsion system, allowing Snow to ascend. Meanwhile, in the secure chamber, the oxygen supply gradually runs out, exacerbating the situation. So Hawk makes a difficult decision. He does the unthinkable so that Emilie has more time. Snow eventually comes on top of the secure area and blows open the shaft lid, allowing him to enter. Emilie has already fallen unconscious. As he communicates this information to the LOPD, a doctor walks him through the reviving operation, which luckily restores her life. The two then climb out of the shaft, just as Alex and his guys break in. Harry continues to lead them to the exit, but Alex hears their voices. As a result, he summons a communications officer and instructs him to turn off the radio channel. Snow and Emilie take a wrong turn because they don't know where they're going, and they fall through a ceiling into a room. Despite this obstacle, they eventually arrive to an infirmary, where Snow receives treatment for her leg injuries. During this time, Emilie inquires about the remaining hostages, to which Snow responds that he is just coming to save her. The two then resume their hunt for the exit room. They soon arrive at a supply room, where Snow hands her a prisoner's clothing to wear. Furthermore, he trims and dyes her gorgeous hair to make her appear more like a prisoner. In the following scene, Alex is seen speaking with Scott, indicating that he is now aware of the president's daughter on board. He then threatens to harm her if they do not meet his demands. After getting this news, the president rushes to the LOPD. Snow and Emilie, now disguised, enter the hibernation chamber and seek for Mace among the other detainees. They are shortly halted by one of the tattooed inmates, who requests a password. They're obviously unaware, so Snow headbutts the man before escaping. They rush into a compartment, where they discover Mace, and shut the door behind them. Snow hugs his comrade, but his joy is short-lived when Mace is found to have suffered from dementia as a result of stasis. Snow tries to question him about the briefcase, but to no avail. Shortly later, the convicts begin drilling the door from the outside, allowing the trio to escape. At this point, the MS-1 loses control and crashes into the International Space Station. The impact produces a hull breach, which separates Mace from the others. Snow begs him to press the panic button, but Mace doesn't understand. Unfortunately, time runs out, and the unfortunate chap freezes to death. In the aftermath, Snow finally transports Emilie to the escape pod, only to realize that it only has one seat. Realizing he's been put here to die, he sends Emilie on her way, with a false vow to follow her in the next pod. However, she lets the pod launch without her because she still wants to save the prisoners. She feels that her father will not order an attack until she's on the ship. Just then, Heidel appears on the ship's screen, threatening to kill all of the hostages unless Emilie reveals her position. Worried, she agrees with him, but he kills them anyhow. Snow then leads her away, and they arrive in a lab room. There, they find proof that the convicts were being utilized unlawfully as test subjects. Alex and his men ambush the couple before they have time to organize their next move. Snow tries to fight them, but he is shot and falls into the hole. Alex then takes Emilie back to the control room, where he discovers that his impatient brother has killed all of the captives. Now that they only have Emilie to negotiate with, Alex phones the LOPD and threatens to kill the president's daughter if they are not released. He also allows Emilie to speak with her father, but she insists on blowing up the spaceship because all of the captives have died. Despite this, the president will not allow a siege. With no other option, Scott temporarily removes him from command, as the Constitution allows when the president chooses personal considerations over national security. Following that, Scott approves the destruction of MS-1. Meanwhile, Harry reaches Snow, who turns out to be still alive thanks to his bulletproof vest. Harry informs him of the additional spacesuits and urges him to put them on and leave the ship immediately. In the prisoner's ship, Heidel attempts to establish himself over Emilie, but is prevented by Alex. This leads to a brawl between the two brothers, which lasts for quite some time. However, the scary Heidel eventually kills his brother by stabbing him. He then pursues Emilie, but Snow comes just in time to rescue her. As the LOPD security squad arrives, Snow and Emilie rush to the spacesuit compartment, with the convicts after them. They somehow get into the compartment and lock the door behind them. Simultaneously, the security forces attach multiple explosives to the prison ship and set a 30-second timer. Within this time window, Snow and Emilie put on their spacesuits and jump from the ship just before it explodes. After some time in freefall, they fortunately arrive safely on Earth. In the aftermath, Emilie is rescued, but Snow is arrested. A few days later, she is seen in the hospital, attempting to understand what Mace tried to tell her in his final moments. Some time later, she realized Mace's incomprehensible muttering was a code that revealed the location of Frank's briefcase. She uses the code to successfully recover the briefcase. She also goes to the motel room where Frank was killed to find out what transpired on that terrible day. After conducting some study, Emilie discovers that Snow fired at an invisible intruder who was also targeting the Colonel. As a result, Scott, who was watching from a neighbor's roof, assumed that Snow had shot Frank. Emilie then delivers the bag to her father so that he can take the appropriate measures. Several days later, the cops discover that Harry was truly a mole and arrest him immediately. With the case ultimately solved, Snow is released and his belongings are restored, including a lighter handed to him by Frank prior to his death. While attempting to light a cigarette, Snow discovers a memory card hidden in the lighter, which turns out to be the actual content the Colonel wanted him to preserve. Emilie approaches him unexpectedly and teases him after learning his real name, Marion. The film closes as the couple walks away, proclaiming their emotions for each other. That was the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more material like this, and please press the like button to assist us. Also, if you want us to recap your favorite movie, leave a comment. Take care until the next time.